In this week's countdown, we're counting down the top 4 films in cinematography, and coming in at number 4 is Blade Runner, starring Harrison Ford. The cinematographer in this film was Jordan Cronenweth, and it was directed by Ridley Scott. What was really cool about this film, it was definitely ahead of its time. It portrayed Los Angeles as a futuristic Los Angeles. And they did that by giving emphasis on the infrastructure and buildings. And what they were also able to execute was the lighting in the film. They did manipulative lighting, so it definitely set the tone of the film. And coming in at number 3 is Oblivion, and the cinematographer was Claudio Miranda. Now this film deserves a spot on my list because even though there was a lot of CGI used in the film, the way the props were propped up and the actors, the placement of everything just meshed beautifully. And even though there was a lot of destruction in the film, it sounds like an oxymoron, but there was just beautiful destruction. And in some of the scenes, especially in the Sky Tower, it just drew the audience into the room. Even though there was a lot of dialogue, the backdrop was breathtaking. And coming in at number 2 is Skyfall, starring Daniel Craig, and the cinematographer was Roger Deakins. Now, Deakins has a great eye for composition. The reason why I put this film in this list is because I absolutely loved the color scheme. They used a lot of blue hues and kind of a touch of yellow in the pictures, which was great. It really was very vibrant and brought the pictures to life, in my opinion. And also, what I really loved what Deakins did in the film was during the fighting scenes, while most people like to do a lot of movements, he actually had the camera steady and you were actually able to see every hit and every punch and every movement. So big ups to Roger for that. All right, guys, so coming in at number 1 is 2001, A Space Odyssey, and the cinematographer was Jeffrey Unsworth. Now, this movie was definitely ahead of its time. It came out in the 1960s, but guys, this movie, you couldn't even tell it came out that long ago. And it definitely paved the way and set the bar for other space movies like your Gravities, your Interstellars, and one of my favorites from this year, The Martian. All right, guys, so that wraps up my top 4 films in cinematography. Now, a big shout out to Stephen Douglas Smith for kind of schooling me and educating me on what cinematography is. It's definitely a work of art and lots of skill involved.
It's okay. Deep breath. Bring it on. Deep breath. Deep breath. Look at me. I like what you're doing out there, all right? You're a little tight. You're going to loosen up, all right? Here's what I want you to do. I want you to throw your left under the radar. Then when you come up with a shovel hook, you're gonna see an opening, put it right on his chin, that'll drop him.
Mouthpiece in, seconds out.
Your old man did that to me. It worked.
Mouthpiece in, seconds out. Finish it up.
That was an exclusive clip of the new boxing movie Creed, starring one of my favorites, Sylvester Stallone as Rocky Balboa and Michael B. Jordan as the son of Apollo Creed. Now, this is basically a spin-off of the Rocky movies. I'm a huge fan of them. My dad's a huge fan of them. So when the 1-2 punch duo hits the screen November 25th, we'll be checking it out. Here's a behind-the-scenes look.
Now I have this relentless responsibility to try to keep it intact. And then I realized, well, Rocky character is intact, But now there's a new generation, and the character of Adonis Creed comes into the picture. And this is Ryan's creation. So I thought, how extraordinary that this man would just come up with this story when he had, hundreds and hundreds of different scripts to choose from, and someone so young to be captivated by this. But he had personal reasons, and he's directed this in a personal way that I'm quite astounded by it. I mean, he's just unrelenting. I don't think I've ever seen anyone this focused. And it's not to be denigrating or dismissive of anyone else, but I've never seen a more focused individual on one project, ever. Rocky's story is pretty much done. In his ring story and his journey with Adrian, and now it's about actually a rebirth of this new character. And Rocky, how do you communicate with a different generation who's kind of angry, that kind of feels as though, like a lot of the millennials, that opportunity has passed them by, and Rocky's kinder, simpler times don't automatically apply to today's standards, and how these two start to butt heads, but you realize they love one another, and they do rely upon one another, because when you get right down to it, after all the points have been tallied, what really counts is love.
Seems okay. Connected with him more than I thought I would ever thought I would, honestly, on an acting level and on a personal level as well. He's a legend, so sometimes it's a little intimidating. You never know kind of how the relationship's going to pan out, because I've met people, you have one idea of them in your head and you meet them something completely different, for the good and for bad. But this guy he's the real deal, and we definitely pushed each other, and we connected on a level that I never thought we would. So it was fun. It was fun. We got a lot of real moments, and it was fun. It's been surreal, honestly. Just like even when we're doing scenes out on the street, and all the people that just Rocky, hey Rocky, just like all the shout outs and the love and the fans, and just he has a statue out. It's a fictional character that's sitting out there in front of the museum that people from all over the world travel to come take pictures by and stand in his footsteps. And it just goes to show the quality of work that he did, that he put in 40 years ago. It's still relevant today, and it will be in another 40 years. So it's an honor to be a part of the process and part of his legacy, honestly. He's a very smart kid, but he's got something inside that he just doesn't know about, or he has a hole that's empty that he's trying to fill, and he's trying to figure it out. He's honestly a kid trying to figure it out. And he realizes he's unhappy, and he wants to do what makes him happy. He hasn't been able to control his destiny at all, or control his future. All of his choices in his life is made by somebody else. And this time he wanted to do it for him. He wanted to figure it out on his own, or do things his way. And that's why I feel like he takes the initiative by leaving his job. And sometimes you got to pack everything up and leave your comfort zone, become uncomfortable, and find another comfort zone somewhere else. That's how you grow.
His dedication to the training, Michael's, is professional, actually. Maybe even beyond professional, because he spent, I think, even over a year preparing. So he was in extraordinary shape. I mean, I've done this a few times, and I think he was in better shape than I was, and I would say that he really had to work hard, because these scenes were done over many, many, many days, and to maintain that kind of physique and energy and passion, you need a special quality. So he literally, and he's still to this day on the set, being very specific about what he's eating, so he's living the part. To Ryan's credit, I gave him my blueprint which I've used before, and then he analyzed it, took it for what it's worth to him, and then he choreographed this fight himself. So, because he wanted it to be his own blueprint. He's one of those sorts of types of directors, a new breed of director, that is a real auteur. And that's hard to do. I mean, see, there's really two movies in a film like this. You have your drama, and then the fight is a completely other kind of film. It's almost as much footage, and you have to cram within 9 minutes this course of events. It's very complicated, and that's what I kept saying. I said, remind yourself, you're making two movies. Really, it's not, and that's why it's very daunting. And he did it, no problem. I like him. I love Michael. He's a fantastic actor. He's so dedicated. I know we all hear that. But even if he finishes a scene and he's done well, he may come back 20 minutes later and goes, you know, there's something brewing inside. Do you mind if I take one more shot at it? And sure enough, something even more excellent rises to the top there. And I go, wow, that's something. Most people would say, all right, thank you very much, I'm out of here, you know, because it's hard.
Thanks for watching another episode of Fourth Take. I'm Mayra Castaneda. Special thanks to Stephen Douglas Smith for allowing us into his home. And make sure to catch Creed. It hits theaters before Thanksgiving. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Fourth Take. And I am also on Instagram at Mayra_California. We'll see you soon. For films and cinematography. And coming in at number 4 is Blade Runner starring Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage. Oh, that must be the biggest fail in Fourth Take history. Oh.